You are now listening to
Chakras and Shotguns. Welcome to Chakras and Shotguns, the podcast that guides you on a journey of spiritual development and personal preparedness. I'm Jen, a former lawyer, now wellness entrepreneur.
And I'm Mick, a marketer, Reiki master, and prepper. So have you ever been to someone's house and the vibes were just off? You weren't really feeling it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you moved into a new place and you're trying to figure out just how to get the energy right to your specifications. Well, today we're actually going to be talking to a Feng Shui expert. Her name is Meghan Ripoche, and she owns Energy Interiors. She's going to talk to us today all about the different areas of your home and how Feng Shui can help us to make sure we're maximizing the impacts of how energy can really improve those areas of our lives. So maybe like your junk room is messing up your finances, or your messy kids area is messing up your ability to travel. We're going to get into all of those different things.
And you'll hear about why you shouldn't just bring in random stuff that people leave behind. But anyways, before we get into that, we want to remind you to definitely check out our Patreon. We're coming out with some new content in the next couple of days, and Patreon members get added benefits. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. Check out patreon.com/chakras and shotguns.
All right, let's begin as we always do with a little bit of breathwork meditation to put us into a mindful place.
All right. So today's episode is all about energy, the energy that we're welcoming in, the energy that we want around us. So I really wanted to make the visualization around that. So let's begin. I think today we're going to start with our hands face up on somewhere on our body, usually like in your lap. This is a more receiving gesture. So go ahead, close your eyes, and let's get started. Inhale deeply in through your nose, expanding your belly, filling yourself up with air, and exhale that breath out through your mouth. Beautiful. Let's do that again. Inhale through your nose. Exhale out through your mouth. Let's do another one. Inhale through your nose. And this time when you exhale, let something go. Hold on empty. Feel what that feels like. Take an inhale in through your nose. This time, seal your lips closed and exhale back out through your nose. Allow yourself to start breathing normally, just observing your breath. Today, we're going to call in our energy back from wherever it may be. Our energy goes to a lot of different things. Our attention is to work and home and kids and partners and friends and family, hopes and dreams and worries in the past and the future. And it's a lot of different directions that we can be splitting ourselves. So imagine that all of the places where your energy is flowing, that it has a tiny hook. And imagine yourself unhooking each of those places. Don't overthink it. Just use your intuition. Now that you've unhooked your energy from the many places where you've divided your attention, Imagine each of those lines starting to flow back into you. Notice if you feel anywhere where the energy is a little bit more reluctant to come back. Just give that a little bit more attention and encourage it to return to its original source. Now imagine yourself in your mind's eye, in the space in between your eyebrows. Do you see yourself sitting how you're sitting in this moment? Visualize yourself surrounded by a beautiful golden light. Noticing what emotions that light brings forth. Do you feel happy, grateful, excited, energized? Nothing to do with that information. We're just observing. Allow yourself to feel gratitude for this energy that is returned back to you. Noticing how you feel. Take a deep inhale in through your nose. Exhale back out through your mouth. Start to wiggle your fingers, your toes. Flicker your eyes open. And welcome back.
Thanks for that, Jen. Another great breath work. Let's take a moment now to introduce today's guest. So today we're welcoming Meghan Ripoche. She is a double certified Feng Shui consultant with certifications from the Tisha Morris Earth Home School of Feng Shui and the New York Institute of Art and Design. She has a diverse background in both classical and modern Feng Shui. And as a Feng Shui consultant, she specializes in helping clients create harmonious and supportive environments that align with their goals and aspirations. And as we mentioned before, she is the owner of Energy Interiors. So let's welcome her to the show.
All right, Meghan, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you. This is a topic that we've tried to look into for ourselves and said, why don't we get an expert? So welcome to Chakras and Shotguns.
I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome. So let's jump right into it. Can you give us your definition of Feng Shui? Am I even saying it right?
Yes, you nailed it.
Okay.
So, and if you haven't Googled it yet, the literal term is wind and water. So Feng means wind and Shui means water. And it originated in China, was originally used to locate auspicious burial sites for royalty. So it was like super top secret information. Women were not allowed to learn about it at all. And it was only kind of like spread through word of mouth. And that was probably like 3,500 years ago. And then fast forward to like the 1970s, Professor Thomas Lin Yun actually westernized, brought it over to the United States, and it's called BTB Feng Shui, and that's what I practice. So really, the goal of it is to remove energetic blocks so that energy can flow through your home. So like if you think about yoga, like if you've got like a stiff neck or tight hips, like you go to yoga to release those energetic blocks in your body so that energy can flow through it. So it's kind of the same idea. And when you release the energetic blocks from your home and energy is flowing through your home, it then can transform into your life. So I like to think of our home as a mirror, and it's kind of divided into 9 sections. And so we use something called a Bagua Map to show us exactly which areas of our home correlate with that area of our life. Does that make sense so far? So it's like a mirror.
Yeah. I love that yoga analogy as a yoga instructor myself. Because if
Yes.
my hamstrings are tight and then my low back hurts and then I'm getting all jacked up. So I love that. I definitely want to get into the map part of things for sure.
Absolutely. I think before we get into the map, can we just talk a little bit about why having that flow of energy is important, right? Like what are some of the benefits of making sure that you have the energy correct in your space?
Peace of mind first and foremost. So, I mean, same thing. Like, do you want to walk around with tight hamstrings? No, like you feel better, you move better, you live better once you release those blocks in your body. And it's the same with your home. A lot of times I can walk into a client's home and just by using the map, identify maybe some problems that are going on in their life or maybe some areas that are unattended to.
Mm.
So, really, people come to me for improved sleep, to help increase their wealth, to find a romantic partnership, or even just work on their relationship with their self. For your children's room, you want to make sure you align that energy with the kid's personality as well. So it's not really a one size fit all practice. It's very, very intimate and very personal.
Mm. I'm really trying not to just make this about like, hey, can you just give us tips for our house? Because you said improve sleep in kids' rooms. One or both of our kids have been up at 2, 4 in the morning for the past 3 days.
Yeah, I can see it in my
Mhm.
face in this video. I'm letting you sleepy.
And I'm like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and ask this. We have an Airbnb, and we had a guest staying there for a long period of time, and she left some plants. She left this beautiful orchid, and so I brought it home, and Mick saged it, but ever since then, everything's kind of been in disarray, and Mick was at 2 o'clock in the morning, he
Mhm.
goes, "It's that orchid. Get that orchid. We gotta get that orchid out of here," and he got dressed and took the orchid outside, and everything kind of felt like it calmed down.
Mhm.
I don't know if that has anything to do with feng shui, but just like bringing in something into the home from outside, can that really throw the energy in your house out of whack?
Absolutely. Not only that, but who had it before, like you don't really know that tenant's history or what they were going through. And, the plant holds that energy, especially because it's alive. And so then
Mm,
transferring that into your home, even I say like, for people traveling, be very careful what you buy. Like, in Mexico, they have all of the artwork of um, different like historians or whomever public figures. But if you don't really know that story behind what the different masks are, or whatever the statue, you're also bringing that energy into your home there as well.
Mm, mhm. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about the Bagua. Did I say it right? The Bagua Map?
Yeah.
All right, so let's break down what that is and how people could work with one.
Yeah, I actually have one right here. So for people who cannot see this, it is simply a square, even on all 4 sides. And then you kind of divide that up into 9 spaces. And so there's a specific way, like with these bottom 3, you always want to line that up with your front door. So if you're looking in your home, it's kind of like that. And so when you overlay this over your floor plan, so you can do this virtually as well, you would overlay this on there, divide it evenly into 9 sections, and then that kind of helps me see, which area of your home is with what area of your life.
Mhm.
One of the 9.
and how does that work if, it's a personal question. How does it work if you have 2 stories?
So you would just overlay it on both
Okay.
stories of the home. Now, for someone just beginning and you're like, where do I start? You want to start with the main level of the house, or, and not jumping ahead too much here, but the 3 main areas in feng shui are your front door. That's where energy comes in. And in feng shui, we call that qi. So it's like life force energy is the direct translation. So our doors represent opportunities coming into. So that's something I recommend looking at, as well as your kitchen, which represents your wealth, and then your bedroom, which represents your relationships.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I guess talk a little bit about when you're working with clients, some of the like common things you're seeing in some of those areas that people kind of need to fix.
So the first step is decluttering, right? So
Mm,
I'll notice, either it'll be kind of a mess, that'll be their catch-all area of the home, or it'll just be an area where they're like, I really don't use this room. It's here. I got it for X, Y, and Z purpose, but I just kind of like don't go in there. So that means typically, they're not really addressing that area of their life. They're kind of putting it on the back burner, whether it be, relationships, finances, family, what have you.
got it. Got it. I remember I poked around a little bit on your website and I saw that you had a Bagua map that folks could download. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes with instructions. It's free. So www.yenergyinteriors.com is where you can find that.
Nice, nice. I know we were looking at your work and like I didn't look too closely into the Bagua map because I wanted to wait until we talked to you. But immediately we looked at this corner of our living room where our two daughters have all of their toys and it's mayhem. It's like crayons on the floor
Yeah.
and everything. I said, what area does that represent?
Well, and sometimes, like, for instance, for like your office or your desk, sometimes people thrive in that. Like, if you're a creative, sometimes an organized chaos is okay. But
Hmm.
whereas if you're an accountant, you might want your space a little more tidy and organized because you're working with numbers and it's a little more like square and straightforward.
Hmm.
Okay.
I
So
like that.
Yeah,
I like that there's
yeah.
wiggle room. It's not just like
exactly.
throw everything away
Yeah.
and become a minimalist.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's not, it's, the opposite end of that is go out and buy a bunch of new stuff either.
Mm.
Mhm.
It's really taking your space and making it your own. And the number one rule that I have when I practice feng shui is that it's your space, it's your vibes, period. So if
Mm.
you don't feel good in there, all of the rules can go out of the window. So, you have to resonate and align with what your space is embodying.
Yeah, I love that. We say that a lot about a lot of different topics on the show, whether it's Reiki or meditation or whatever it is that you're doing. If you don't resonate with it, we
Mhm.
could tell you your human design type, we could tell you your Enneagram, but if it completely doesn't work with who you are and how you feel, then throw it away.
Yeah,
Serves you.
period. Exactly.
I love that. I think we have a good intro to feng shui. I want to get a little bit into how you found feng shui. I'd love your story and can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I'll try to not make this too long-winded, but, went to college, graduated, moved to Los Angeles. And I was a bartender there. I had originally moved out to be in the entertainment industry, quickly found out, that that wasn't the path that I personally wanted to take.
Mm.
But I was, in the F&B industry for a while and I was just looking for something new and I found this random opportunity to go bartend for a resort called Club Med. And so what it is you spend like 6 months to 12 years traveling and it's international. So, I did a couple of months in Turks and Caicos. Well, I did 9 months there and then they said, "Hey, we really need you in Punta Cana." I'm in all of these beautiful exotic places and the next thing you know, I'm in the French Alps in the mountain at a ski resort.
Mm,
And even in LA, I changed my home a lot. I probably moved once every year to 2 years when I lived out there. And so quickly, I just kind of started to realize the different environments I was living in had a huge impact on, how I was feeling, how I was acting, how I was showing up at work, all of that, the relationships that I found myself in. And so I knew about feng shui a little bit, but I didn't really know a lot. And so I was traveling and, part of it could have been because I was in Asia, but it was like in between seasons. I was backpacking and I just kept coming across all of these feng shui books. So I
mm,
kind of started reading, looking into it, and then Instagram doing its thing with the algorithm. It popped up and it's like, hey, you can become a feng shui consultant. And I'm like, you can like turn this into a job. What? So it started off as a passion project, probably back in like 2017. And so fast forward now, like 6, almost 7 years later, I, started Energy Interiors and have a full side business.
So I love that you talked about the different energy that you feel in different places. And, we're talking about the home, but even like locations and how people are drawn to different cities, or they're like, this city isn't really for me. London is that city for me. I love that you talked about that. And even if you're not looking to make a move, when you're like going on vacation, how can you make the spaces that you're living in temporarily work for you?
Mm.
So there's two things that I like to do. Obviously, when you're traveling, there's not much of like furniture moving or, you can't go and paint the walls, whatever. But two things that you can do energetic wise is the first thing I do is if it's an Airbnb, I like to open up all the windows and take sage and, of course, sage the entire place, asking any energy that is no longer there to serve me or that isn't there to serve me, I guess you would say in that case to kindly be gone. Make sure you keep the windows open for at least 10 to 20 minutes after that and then close them. You could also go back through with Palo Santo because, sage is to release negative and Palo Santo is to bring in positive. So that's one thing. But if you are like first a hotel room, if you're in a hotel room, you want to maybe get a spray. You can do like a citrus based spray, preferably orange, or you can get a sage spray. I mean, there's a ton on the internet that you could simply find, or you can make your own, Google a recipe. But the same idea of just trying to clear out the previous occupant's energy from that space. And then the second thing is to just unpack it immediately. And I'm staying one night, 24 hours, or, 2 weeks, I unpack everything and really just try to give it that feeling of I'm home. This is going to be my place where I rest and recover for the time being. So down to like the toothpaste and, I put my makeup in the bathroom, all of that.
I've seen people do that like on Bravo or even hire people to do that for them. And I'm like, that seems so luxurious. And sometimes running around with Mick, I don't have time to do that. And he be like, hurry up, let's go. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Oh my God, my husband is the same way. I feel that.
So let's talk a little bit about work. I know a lot of folks have returned back to the office. Is there anything that you would recommend for how to have a great kind of work area or office or workspace while you're working?
Absolutely. So, whether you have returned to the office or you may even just be still working from home and have a home office, you kind of use the same concept for both. And in Feng Shui, your desk or your office directly translate to your professional life, to your business if you have one, to your occupation, to your life path, that area. And if you don't have one, I would highly recommend at least designating an area that you sit down and say, this is where I work and this is where business is taken care of. So, same thing, as I mentioned earlier, depending on your occupation, you want to make sure that your space is set up to support whatever it is you're doing. So, if you are a creative, again, it's okay to maybe have a small, I say small, organized chaos, don't have everything everywhere. And then if you're in a more structured business, making sure that it's tidy, but there's also something called the command position.
Mm.
And so that's just making sure your desk is in the optimal position for you to really feel in charge. So what you would want is a solid wall behind your back. You can see you can see the door, the entrance to the room. So you can see who's coming in at you, but you don't want to be in direct line of that path because that's again where energy enters. So you don't want to be in direct line with that constantly coming at you. And then if you can be able to look out a window. So 4 things.
Mm.
It's the same thing with your bed. So solid wall behind you, able to see the door, not in line with the door, and if possible, be able to see out of a window.
Just so I'm getting a little technical with this, but just so I'm understanding when you say be able to see out of a window, is that just like when you're looking forward or can you turn your head or like, what does that mean?
Yeah, typically it'll be probably on your left or right. Like my
Okay.
window's right here that I keep looking over there out of. And then the concept there is that if a door is behind you, like a lot of people like to sit their desk towards a wall, and then the door is there, but you have this feeling of constantly having to look over your shoulder.
Mhm.
And so that's just kind of where that comes from.
Hmm. Now I'm like rethinking every office I've ever had
Yeah.
and where our bed is.
Mhm.
Quick little gem I'll drop while you just said bed, for people either in a relationship or if you're trying to call in a partner, you want to make sure that your bed is in the middle of the wall and two nightstands on each side to show equality. A lot of my friends who are single, when I have made a post about it, they call me like, "You've never said anything. I got one nightstand in my room, girl. This explains it all."
That's
That is like one way that I suggest calling in a partner is
Mm.
having two. And for those in a relationship, having a mirror across from your bed symbolizes doubling the amount of people in your relationship. So that's something that you may consider as well.
Okay.
mm.
We don't need a double. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we don't
Right.
need
That's
to
why
be-
I said, if you want,
Yeah.
if that's what your thing is, then put the mirror there.
That's interesting. Are there, and I love that, are there any other quick fixes that maybe outside of the bedroom, maybe in your kitchen or around your front door that people can easily incorporate?
So let's start with the front door because that's what I always recommend. Again, that is how energy even can get inside. So you want to make sure that there's something on your front door to attract that energy there. So, like, let's say you have like a brick house that's like more of a red color. You might want to do like a yellow ornament or like reef or, flowery reef on your front door, or you can paint your door if you have that option. But you just kind of want it to stand out from the rest of the home so that energy can find you. I had said on one of my recent posts, if you are having a hard time or if your guests constantly say like, I can't find the front door, where's your apartment? If they can't see your apartment number or your home number, whatever it is, energy might be having that same exact problem
Mm.
Mm.
and flowing. So something quick to do is sweep, get up in the corners of your wall. There's always like I'd say 6, 7 out of 10 times, cobwebs or some kind of dust like up there. And that represents stagnant energy. So you
Mm.
want to get all of that dirt off of the floor and move that energy and clean it up, throw it outside and just pay attention to what it looks like. How do you feel when you walk in your front door? Do you feel like, oh my God, I'm so happy to be home? Or do you feel like, throwing your shoes here and just like the house is a wreck? Like what are you being greeted by and how are you feeling? That same thing goes for the energy.
Mm.
Got it. Okay.
One other quick tip that I wanted to say, like if you are craving like change or, just something new, a fresh start, moving 27 items around in your house can inspire, you know, calling in a fresh start or just change in general. So it can be something little like a
Mhm.
plant here, or, maybe you switch out like a magnet on the fridge if you start to get stumped, but you can get really creative
Mm.
pretty fast.
Why 27? I imagine is it the numerology of 9? Okay.
Exactly. So yeah, 2 plus 7 is 9, and 9 is a very auspicious number in Feng Shui.
Hmm.
Got it, got it. You
Yeah.
mentioned a reef, which made me think about plants, and I see you have plants in your house. You can see we have some plants back here. How do you work with plants in your work? What's their energy like, and how can it help a space?
Yeah. So plants represent growth. They represent, they're alive. So they represent active yang energy movement. So one place I like to put these, if you get a hold of a Bagua Map, is your wealth corner. I recommend plants with round coin shaped
Hmm.
there. And so like a jade plant,
Mhm.
money plant, Chinese money coin plant, or the Chinese coin plant, you know what I'm trying to say. It's
Yeah.
round ones, like they look like coin. But putting that in your wealth corner or any area that you kind of want to activate and get some life into,
Got it.
whether that be creativity or romance, whatever.
Are plants okay for the bedroom or no? I've seen kind of mixed things on social media about that.
Yeah, and that's kinda same thing with TVs, like, technically, yeah, they say it's not allowed, but if you're sleeping good and you're fine, it's really a situational basis. So if you're sleeping like a baby, then, plants are good, and for me, they help you breathe better and sleep better, so I'm not against them in the bedroom.
Okay. Well, I have a lot to think about now, right? Like, there's so many gems here.
I know.
I'm ready to download the Bagua Map and start figuring this out.
I know. I'm getting a little
You a little stressed?
I'm not stressed. Lord knows we're overdue for a declutter.
Yes. Spring cleaning is
Yeah.
time. Spring equinox is
Yeah,
here. Let's make it happen.
this is right on time.
Uh-huh.
Yep, absolutely. But that's the order is you wanna declutter, then you wanna rearrange, and then you add. The final step is adding new stuff. So you've got all the tools you need already within your home. You don't need to stress out. And it looks lovely back there. So far, what I'm feeling through the screen is your home is beautiful. So
Thank
don't be too
you.
Yeah.
That actually made me think of something you were talking earlier, and I wanted to ask, how does your intuition come into play in your work?
Yes. And it's funny because I'm very much a indecisive person, but with the spaces and being able to, like, you just know. And more importantly, I think that, starting all the way back from the service industry to now still kind of working in sales in my full time job, being able to read people, because again, the most important person is the one occupying the space. So while I am looking at what's going in the home, I'm also looking at the reaction of my client even more so. And just kind of reading, if they're excited to tell me about this room or if it's kind of where they get a little reserved.
That makes sense. So can you, I guess, since you're talking about clients, can you tell us a little bit about how you work with folks? Like, what's that engagement kind of look like? I'm sure that a lot of folks are interested in getting a consultant. So if you can just kind of walk them through what that process looks like.
Yeah. So, first of all, I work with residential and commercial consultations. I even do as little as like home office. So if you just want to, really focus on your business or your side hustle, that is something I offer as well. So you would just fill out the form on my website. We would do a quick phone call. The form on my website does ask a few questions just to kind of see where you stand and your level of understanding, and then we get on the phone and kind of dive a little bit deeper on what you want to uncover, send over a floor plan to me, and then I map out your home for you. And then if it's in person, I would come over to the home. We sit down, have a quick chat, and then walk through room by room. I'm very hands on, so I like to kind of make the small changes that we can while I'm there. And then after that, I come home, kind of digest everything, and then I type up a written report and send you over that report, as well as there's an option for a mood board for inspiration on things you can add in the future, along with, again, the written report of the analysis of your home.
Nice. Do you have
Yeah.
any examples of working with clients where you've seen big transformations in their life just from moving the energy around in their home?
I've seen clients, get on TV to talk about their business as far as random checks in the mail, promotions, partners, romantic partnership. But with that being said, I get very kind of reserved talking about that because, it is all about intention, and these clients were very dedicated. They trusted the process, and, it can happen in 2 weeks or it could happen in 3 months. But I mean, I've seen some wild things happen for others and myself. So yeah, I mean, even I guess a good example would be recently, my husband and I moved into this house, and a little bit about numerology. We moved into an 8 house, which is all about wealth and prosperity and abundance. So we're like, oh, like, but let's get to the bag. Well, I'm on vacation. Well, prior to this, we moved in, I feng shui it, everything feels good. We're in a good place. And I'm on vacation going to Napa Valley for a bachelorette party. And it's day one. And I get a phone call and I get let go from my job. And we were still in San Francisco out to lunch. And so, of course, my mind is spiraling like, when did I do wrong? Whatever. Well, fast forward 3 months later, I end up getting an opportunity with a job that is way more aligned. I mean, I was in tech sales for senior living before, and now I'm in working for an interior design company, way more aligned with feng shui, way more aligned with my end goal. And so, really, the whole point of that whole story is just, I had to stay trusting the process. At the time, I was like, what did I do wrong? Or, we're supposed to be in an 8 house. And, I was unemployed. But prior to that, my husband had gotten a random promotion. He, and, was able to support us during that transition, thankfully. But it's just, I trusted in what I was doing as a feng shui consultant. And then it came back tenfold, just not on my time.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
resonates with us so much. Because there can be times on this journey where you're like, I'm doing all the things and I saged and we saged that plant and felt like that plant was very disruptive and we put it on the curb. Somebody took it and I was like, God bless.
I hope it's aligned with you.
I hope it's with you.
Right.
But, what did I do wrong? I thought I was doing the things. I'm meditating or, I'm following what's supposed to be my calling and things aren't working out in the timing that I wanted them to. And I
Yeah.
love that. And the reminders of like, oh, well, wait a minute, this did happen. And then I also have to just stay true to believing that I'm doing the right thing. That's powerful.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
thank you so much, Megan. Do you want to tell folks where they can find you on social media? And if you want to tell them your website one more time?
Yeah, so everything is the same. On Instagram, it's Yenergy Interiors, and as well, my website is www.yenergyinteriors. So it's like yin and yang, YINERGY interiors.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. I had a blast.
Thanks again to Megan for joining us on today's show. We really appreciate those tips, and we will be hitting her up for a consultation on our
Yeah.
own space.
For sure. Because we got to clean out some of these junk rooms.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's the show. Friendly reminder to check out our Patreon. I'm serious. You don't want to miss out.
And finally, guys, if you're loving the show, please subscribe and give us 5 stars wherever you listen.
Namaste.